"I just want to see my balance," she whispered, clutching her faded bank card with trembling fingers. The millionaire behind her chuckled, loud enough for the whole bank to hear, mocking, dismissing, amused. But the moment the screen lit up, the smile slid off his face, and his entire life changed in ways he never could have imagined. The line at the bank stretched almost to the door, but the old woman didn't seem in a hurry. She stood quietly, her shoulders slightly bent, gripping a small cloth bag that had seen better years. Her clothes were simple, nearly threadbare, but impeccably clean. Anyone who looked at her would assume she was just another elderly woman struggling at the end of a hard month, and that is exactly what the man behind her assumed. Ethan Hale, 35, sharply dressed, a gold watch worth more than most cars, kept sighing dramatically, checking his time, tapping his foot. He was the kind of man whose presence announced that time itself was beneath him. People turned to glance at him, some annoyed, some intimidated, but Ethan only rolled his eyes at them. He had a business meeting in an hour and a lunch at the most expensive restaurant in the city. Waiting in line was not something a millionaire like him was used to. The old woman, however, stood still, her fingers trembling against her card. Every few seconds she whispered something under her breath, maybe a prayer. Ethan noticed and scoffed. "Seriously?" he muttered loud enough so she could hear. "They have apps for balance checks. Maybe try the 21st century sometime." She turned her head slowly and looked at him. Not offended, not angry, just tired. "Son," she said softly, "I don't have a phone like that. I just want to see my balance. That's all." He smirked. "You probably have, what, 500 rupees? A few people in line frowned, but Ethan didn't care. He was bored, irritated, and completely unaware that this moment would become the turning point of his life. When it was finally her turn, she stepped toward the counter with small, cautious steps. The young bank teller, clearly recognizing her, straightened in her seat. "Mrs. Layla, how are you today?" The old woman forced a smile. "I'm fine, dear. I just need to see my balance. Nothing else." The teller nodded and took the card. Ethan rolled his eyes and muttered, "Finally." But Layla didn't seem to mind his sarcasm. Her eyes stayed glued to the small screen as the teller typed. She held her breath without meaning to. All she needed to see was whether she had enough to pay for her medicine, maybe buy a bit of rice for the week, and hopefully, if God willed, save something for her grandson's school uniform. The teller's fingers paused. Her eyes widened. Ethan noticed her expression change. "What? Did she overdraft her account?" he sneered, laughing under his breath. But the teller whispered, "Mrs. Layla, do you know what your balance is?" The old woman blinked slowly. "No, dear. That's why I'm asking." And then the teller turned the small screen toward her. Layla gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. Tears instantly filled her eyes. Her knees almost buckled. Ethan leaned in, curious, bored, until his eyes caught the number. His smirk vanished. He stepped closer, stunned, staring at the screen as if it were impossible. Because the balance, the old woman saw, was more money than he himself had in his main account. The bank went silent. Layla sobbed, and Ethan felt the first crack in his own arrogance. But the real story, the real truth behind that number was still to come. Layla was shaking, tears streaming silently down her wrinkled cheeks. She grabbed the counter for support as the teller rushed to help her sit down. Is this a mistake?" she whispered, voice trembling like fragile glass. "No, ma'am," the teller replied gently. "It's all correct. The transfer was made this morning." Ethan stood frozen, staring at the screen as if someone had stolen his reality. The number was impossible. Unbelievable. How could a woman who looked like she had nothing possess a balance that could buy entire blocks of property? His throat went dry. He wanted to leave, but his feet wouldn't move. "Who sent this?" Layla asked, voice cracking. The teller clicked on the transaction log. It was made by a foundation, the M. Rahman Memorial Scholarship Fund. At the name, Layla's breath caught again, hard. She pressed both hands to her chest. The world around her blurred, and she could barely whisper, My son." The teller glanced at her gently. "Mrs. Layla, your son created this?" She shook her head slowly. "No, my son died 8 years ago." Her voice broke. He was a teacher. He loved children, helping them. That was his dream. Before he passed, he always said, "Ami, when I'm gone, I want every child to have a chance." She wiped her tears. "But I thought the foundation ended after he was gone. I didn't know someone was still funding it." The teller turned the monitor back. "Well, someone revived it and transferred everything under your name. It looks like they wanted to secure your life first." A soft, broken sound escaped Layla's lips, a mix of grief, love, and disbelief. And Ethan, for the first time in years, he felt small. He took a step forward. "Your son? What was his name?" She wiped her eyes. "Musa. Rahman. Musa. Rahman." Ethan froze. His face drained of color. He knew that name. "Musa Rahman," he whispered. "Yes." "Beta, you knew him?" the old woman asked carefully. Ethan swallowed. Memories crashed into him with the force of a storm. A skinny young teacher with a warm smile. A man who taught him math without taking a single rupee. A man who spent his own money to buy Ethan's school shoes when his father refused. A man Ethan had promised to repay someday, but never did. "My God," Ethan whispered. He taught me when I was 12. He saved me more than once." Layla stared at him, stunned. He nodded slowly, guilt pressing into every corner of his being. "Your son was the reason I became anything at all." The entire bank was silent. Ethan's eyes glistened. He hadn't cried in years. "I didn't know he passed away. I didn't know you were his mother." He swallowed hard. "Layla, I'm sorry. She simply looked at him. Her eyes, soft, tired, grieving, but still kind. "My son always saw good in people, Beta. Even when they didn't see it themselves." Ethan lowered his gaze. Her kindness felt heavier than any shame he had ever carried. Then, with trembling determination, he knelt beside her chair. "I'm going to honor him," he whispered. "Starting today, your son's foundation will grow, and you will never, ever stand in a line alone again." Her tears fell onto his hands. "May Allah bless you, Beta." Musa would have smiled today. Ethan felt something inside him shift deep, real, permanent. He had walked into the bank as a man full of pride, and walked out with purpose. And for the first time in his life, you never know who someone truly is until life shows you the balance they carry inside their heart.